Hey, good morning. I feel in desperate need to have a good old rant about COP26, this meeting in Glasgow of all places, where the world leaders have come to burn some carbon. Oh no, sorry, to come to tell us not to burn any carbon. And they all flew there in private jets, or many of them did, and had motorcades of cars, um, and then stood up in front of each other and gave impassioned speeches, effectively saying, "Oh well, we need to tax poor people." Not us. No, I'm not. I'm not going to point to you in the crowd. Look, you there. I know you just flew here in a Citation X, burnt loads of carbon, so you should stop doing that. You naughty person. No, no, no. They didn't do that. No, they said, "Oh, we're going to enact policies and make the world a better place." The Great Reset, perhaps. Build back better, and that will involve rules that we have to follow and they don't. You have to be very clear about this. And I don't know if this happened at all, but it seems quite striking that they all meet there to talk about reducing carbon. But at no point any of these world leaders have turned around and said, "I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use Zoom. I'm going to use FaceTime or something, and I'm going to attend. My views I'm just going to write down. I'm going to listen to what you say via video link, and then I'm going to agree or disagree." No, none of those leaders did that. They all flew to Glasgow. I think some of them may have taken the train with their many staff members, used hotels, and basically spent our money, particularly my money. I'm a British taxpayer, and I'm sure I contributed royally to this. I won't get into the royals. They're their own private jetters, aren't they? Anyway, yeah, it's kind of bullshit, isn't it? Whether carbon emissions are an existential crisis for the world or not, it's utter, insane, obvious, right in your face hypocrisy where they all burn lots of carbon to tell us not to come up with policy decisions so we don't eat as much meat, and we all go out and buy £80,000 Teslas because we can all afford that. Oh no, they can all afford that. Sorry, not we. We have to put up with 2013 Astras or 2003 Minis. So my 2003 Mini, I have to pay lots of tax annually, so people with £80,000 Porsche electrics can be subsidised. It's all fair. It's saving the planet. Saving the planet. It's not for the rich people at all. No. And what the hell is what the hell is going on here? Well, what the hell isn't going on is fixing climate change. Right? None of the things that they will propose or will do, and proposals are a whole different thing from doing something, will reduce carbon emissions, because the world isn't constructed that way. We have built this massive global economy based on long distance transportation and burning fossil fuels. And a housewife in Surrey buying a Tesla will not fix that. Okay? It's not going to change the fact that all these big container ports, they use diesel cranes, and all of the trucks on the road, and all of these giant container ships sailing halfway round the planet to bring us our cheap plastic crap from the Far East. It's not going to change. We cannot change that without going back to the Dark Ages. Okay, that's not going to happen. If you really want to fix climate change, you start to fix globalization and not turn back the clock, but you move forward into an era where you are going to do more of your manufacturing closer to home. Okay, and that's the only way forward, because all of the things they do will not meet the targets. The only way they can meet the targets is by destroying the economy, by going back to the feudal times, go maybe back to the Stone Age, and say we're just going to get rid of all of the stuff that makes life worth living. But then that won't work either, because when we have to chop all the trees down to make firewood, and it will be as bad. basically the only way to deal with climate change or carbon emissions, because it's still out for debate whether it is true or actually that bad, the only way to deal with this is go forwards with new technology, or old technology especially a nuclear power. This is there, it's carbon neutral, and it can power our world. But no, there's so many people who don't want that. No, we're going to build windmills. What is going on here? Right. One thing that's going on is that, well, why do we need leaders? Why do we have leaders in the first place? Well, COP26 is a group of leaders. Well, in the past, maybe we didn't need leaders. Yeah, I had my farm, you had your farm. I was growing wheat, you were growing pigs, and you know we traded together, and we went down the pub together and had cider together with the bloke who was making cider. And what the hell do we need a leader for? But we did need leaders, and the reason we needed leaders was protection. So we need the king. Well, I'm happy growing my crops, and you're happy growing your pigs, and he's happy growing his apples, but we need a leader to rally us all together. And if the barbarians come over the hill, we've got someone who's going to lead us from the front with his sword and say, this is our strategy, this is what we're going to do, because we won't be able to do it together. So what happens, that was humanity in the past. So we got the king, the king exacted taxes on us, he was rich and powerful, and at the same time he was there to defend us, and that's a quid pro quo. That's what the leader is there for. Now obviously then the leader has got an incentive for there to be more risk. So what happens when the barbarians are not coming over the hill, and there's a low chance of it? Well, the king's going to tell you they are. The king's going to point out that, well, you know, without me, the barbarians could come over the hill, and without me, and for them, that might be true and it might not be true. But he has an incentive to basically lie about risk. And it's not to say that in all modern times we've never needed leaders. In the Second World War, we needed Winston Churchill. We needed somebody to rally the people together to fight a total war, and prevent invasion from the Germans and for Europe eventually. So there are times when we need leaders, but the lower the risk, or the change of risk, means we need leaders less, but the leaders want to stick around. So fast forward to today, and the leaders don't have wars to fight. The Cold War ended 1990 or so. That's not going to happen. The war against terror is it's probably not going to get much worse than it is. The threat of terrorism, and you know, especially after ISIS had been defeated effectively. So what else is there? Well, they're going to find new threats, real or imagined, and they don't care if they're or exaggerated. And I think this is what's happening with a lot of the things that we are seeing now. COVID, I thought I wasn't going to use that word in these videos, but the illness or climate change, maybe true, maybe not true, but at the very least, they have a powerful incentive to imagine them. Okay, you say, well, but no, these leaders are gathering together. They're not individually coming to. Boris Johnson isn't just saying to the British people. It's not just him saying that to his people. Joe Biden's saying that to Americans. Other leaders are saying that to their own populations in their countries. So this is unity. This is the good thing, the unity of mankind. Right, first of all, unity of leaders is not the unity of mankind. The United Nations consists of many countries that are not united themselves, not least the United States, which had serious divisions. Great Britain, the Scottish National Party want to split off. And that's, as an Englishman, I don't necessarily have a big problem with that. They want to farm their field, I want to farm my field. There's no problem, there's no threat, there's no need for us to band together. There's no need for us as individuals that much to band together to face the threat of the Germans or the French or whoever it may be, the people we traditionally fought. this is what I think. Right, this is what I think is happening. Um, these leaders know they are under threat because they are kind of becoming more and more redundant. We don't have these existential military threats that we're used to. Certainly not external threats that need a leader. We don't need Winston Churchill anymore to lead us in defence against the Germans. If anything, the divisions are internal, inside the countries, but under the umbrella of these leaders. I think what's happened is these leaders have effectively formed a cartel. And when I say the leaders, I don't just mean the individuals, I mean the governments. The governments always have an incentive to exist. That's their gravy train. That's what's keeping them alive. That's their income. That's their place in life, their meaning, their power. Power, very important. And this is what I think is happening. And the whole debate whether illnesses or climate change are true or not always neglects the fact that these leaders need to keep themselves relevant, these governments need to keep themselves relevant, and they have institutions where they can form a cartel to keep themselves relevant. Okay? You have to never overlook the power of individual incentives, and governments are made up of individuals. It's an individual incentive that coalesces into a group, and then there's a group incentive, and then there's this international group incentive. And I talked about globalization and the money involved, because it's not just the politicians, it's the people who can make money from their policies. And I think they are exaggerating at best these risks, these threats. They still want us to have the idea that there's barbarians come over the hill. These are kind of virtual, imaginary, almost fictional caricatures that, the world's going to end because of global warming, because of climate change. They've got an incentive to make that, to say that is a certainty when it's not. It's just a risk. Okay, but they can't say that because they need to keep themselves relevant, and this is what's happening. And I think I don't think it's wrong to investigate climate change or illnesses, pandemics. I do think it's a terrible oversight to miss the fact that these people have an incentive to keep themselves relevant. This is what I believe is happening, and I believe there's a cartel of these very, very powerful people who are trying to keep themselves very, very powerful. They want to be the elite, the global elite. And this is what's been going on. It's all kind of ridiculous anyway. Eventually we're going to go, the emperors, plural, have no clothes. There's no barbarians. Okay, there's risk, but we can deal with that. Okay. We can do that where there are things happening. We can look to genuine unity, but when unity is not being led by a group of people going to Glasgow in private jets to tell us how to live. Anyway, bye bye.